What is going on, everyone? My name is Benjamin Nowak, and today's video is focused on a topic that I get a ton of questions on. One of my all-time favorite techniques, which is drop shot fishing. And this is a technique that a lot of people struggle with, don't really enjoy fishing, or just go out there and fish it because they feel like they have to in order to get bites. But I want to tell you guys some ways you can fish a drop shot, address some mistakes and misconceptions that people have about fishing a drop shot so you can go out, enjoy fishing it, catch bigger fish, and be way more efficient on the water. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video, are the mistakes that I see people fishing and the misconceptions people have about fishing a drop shot. I actually just did a big seminar on this. I did about an hour-and-a-half long seminar about drop shot fishing that goes way in depth on everything that we're going to talk about. I actually addressed some of the mistakes that I think people make when they fish a drop shot in that seminar. But if you want a full breakdown of my drop shot setup, specifically how I fish it, where I fish it, the baits that I'm using, and everything you need to know about drop shot fishing, go over, check out that seminar. It's going to be linked in the comment section down below, pinned as the top comment. It will also be in the description down below. So go check that seminar out if you're really interested in learning how to fish a drop shot with the techniques, with the baits, with the gear that I'm using. So one of the biggest mistakes that I think people make when they're fishing a drop shot, especially when they don't enjoy fishing it, is that they're fishing it too slow. Now what I mean by this is not necessarily they're fishing the bait too slowly, not that they're moving the bait too slowly, but they're fishing the areas where they're fishing a drop shot way too slow. They're going out there and they're covering these big expansive flats by making a long cast with the drop shot and slowly dragging it along bottom and just praying to God for a bite. I don't care what technique you're fishing, whether it's a jig, whether it's a drop shot, whether it's a big worm, any technique that you're fishing, if you're casting it into an area where there's no fish and you have to fish really slowly to do it, it's going to be boring, it's going to feel ineffective, and you're not going to enjoy doing it. My biggest piece of advice is fish areas faster. Make targeted casts with the drop shot. Fish areas where you know fish are living, targeted specific areas where you know bass are at. Those are the areas that you really want to pick apart with a drop shot, because a drop shot is a very effective tool to get fish to bite when you know where they're living. So use a drop shot to make targeted casts, and you can fish it quickly, but also catch a bunch of fish on it, as well as some really big fish, because quite honestly, some of the biggest fish I've ever caught, largemouth and smallmouth, have come on a drop shot because it's such an effective presentation. It's a unique way to fish a bait that presents it up off the bottom and keeps it stationary in the water column. It just holds in front of those fish's face, and I don't think there's other presentations that you can be quite as effective with at picking areas or targets apart with as a drop shot. So look at these areas, say to yourself, okay, do I know fish are living on this small point? Now I'm going to fish this specific spot with the drop shot, or I'm going to fish this specific grass edge with the drop shot. Don't put this in your hand and go down a weed line, flipping a drop shot and slowly dragging it back and doing that all day. One, you're not going to be effective, you're not going to cover much water, and two, you're going to get frustrated because you're going to be fishing this thing and you're not going to have a lot of fun doing it. So use other techniques to locate bass, or look at your map and say, this is a super high percentage area and I'm going to fish a drop shot through here. Mistake number two that I see is that a lot of people think a drop shot is a small fish technique. I think this couldn't be further from the truth. This is something I just mentioned in point one, but a drop shot has caught some of the biggest fish in my life, and I think the reason for that is its unique presentation and your ability to effectively make repeated casts to a single piece of cover. This is one of the biggest misconceptions, is a lot of people think you're casting it away from the boat, just randomly fan casting it, but making targeted casts with the drop shot will help you pick it apart and make repeated casts to the same fish to eventually get them to bite. One of the biggest smallmouth that I've ever caught, or was ever caught in my boat, was caught on a drop shot, and we had this fish on a boulder. We could see it there with Panoptix, and we made repeated casts over and over, probably 5-10 casts, till eventually we got it at the perfect angle, we got it right in the fish's face, and he decided to commit to the bait. It was one of those deals where we were able to make repeated casts. It falls straight down, it holds in the fish's face, it's a unique presentation, and they end up biting it. And it's also not intrusive. It's not a crankbait, it's not a jerkbait, it's not one of those bigger presentations that takes a lot to commit to. A drop shot's a small bait that fish can commit to easily, and it catches a lot of big ones, as well as catching a ton of fish. Number three is that your bait weight or your leader is wrong. This is going to cause a lot of issues. You're going to snag, you're going to hang, you're not going to get bites, and that's because you're either fishing too heavy of a weight, you're fishing the wrong bait, or your leader length is wrong. Now I'll go further in depth, especially as far as it relates to weights and the leader length in that full drop shot seminar, but a kind of high level overview is you need to match your weight, match your leader length, and match your bait to the situation that you're fishing. There are 3 different styles of drop shot weights. You have a round drop shot weight, which is more of a ball shape, and this is better when you're fishing around straight rock. When you're fishing around those areas where you don't want to hang up your drop shot weight, that big ball won't get stuck in the crevices quite as easily. And so when you're fishing those areas where you're fishing straight rock, that ball shape is going to come through the rock a lot more effectively. It's not going to get hung up, and you're going to have a lot more success. The cylinder style weight is going to fall very quickly, and it's not going to want to snag, especially in grass. This is a great style of weight when you're fishing exclusively grass because it's a very narrow weight. It falls quickly and it comes through grass snag free. And so when you're exclusively fishing around grass, or you're fishing around deep fish where you're dropping straight on their heads, this is a great weight to choose. It falls very quickly, it comes in and out of cover very effectively, but the problem with this is when there's any rock mixed in there, it gets snagged very, very easily in rock and hard cover. The style of drop shot weight that I personally fish the most is the teardrop shape, and the reason for that is that it is a crossover shape. Because it's pointed at the top, it comes through grass pretty effectively. Because it's rounded at the bottom, it doesn't necessarily want to get wedged into rock quite as bad as a cylinder style, and so really it is the best all-around shape. It's not perfect, you're still going to get it hung up, you're still going to get grass on it, but overall this is a great choice of a drop shot weight to effectively fish around a variety of different cover. Now the weight size that I recommend is fishing the lightest possible weight size where you can keep in contact with the bottom but not bomb these fish. The last thing you want to do is go too heavy and fall really quickly and bang around and create a lot of commotion. You want the weight that you can effectively fish that just barely keeps you touching bottom. It's going to give your bait the most action. It's going to allow you to most effectively fish through the cover that you're fishing and catch the most possible fish on your drop shot. Leader length is going to be one of those deals that I go way in depth on in that seminar. I'm not going to touch on it too much, but kind of match the leader length to the cover that you're fishing, the height of the grass, the height of the boulders that you're fishing, or the area that the bass are at. If the bass are 2 foot off bottom, maybe you make it, 24 inches. If bass are closer to bottom feeding on gobies or crawdads, maybe you make it, 6 to 12 inch long leader length, but match it to the cover you're fishing and the style of bait fish and where the bass are at that you're fishing around. And finally, number 4, the biggest misconception when it comes to drop shot fishing is that fish will always eat a drop shot. And while a drop shot is a very effective tool to get bites and catch a lot of fish, it's one of those presentations that is unique. One of the biggest things about a drop shot that makes it so effective is its ability to present your bait with separation from the bottom. However, that is also a negative of this bait because not always are fish eating baits off the bottom. They want something on bottom, they want something in their face, they're looking down, they're feeding exclusively on gobies and crawdads. That's when your drop shot might need to be put down. That's when you're not going to get as many bites, you're not going to get as big of bites. A drop shot has a time and place just like every other lure, and although it is a great technique to catch a bunch of fish, fish will not necessarily always eat a drop shot. So keep that in mind when you're out there fishing, and that will help you catch more fish on a drop shot. Don't lock it in your hand and say they will absolutely always eat this bait. So those are the 4 biggest mistakes and misconceptions that I see around drop shot fishing, and hopefully this video will help you guys address some of these concerns, maybe adjust the way that you're fishing a drop shot to be more successful and effective with it. If you guys want to check out that whole drop shot seminar, there's a ton of great information. It's probably the most informational or detailed drop shot fishing video out there on the internet right now, and I really take a lot of pride in my effectiveness and ability to catch fish on a drop shot. So I think I gave you guys some really good nuggets in that video that will help you be super effective. If you have any questions or comments, please hit me up and down in the comment section down below. I'm going to link my drop shot rod, my drop shot setup down there for you guys to go check it out, and I just really appreciate each and every one of you guys watching. If you're not already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, share it with a friend, and let's keep growing this community. Catch you guys next time. Take care, tight lines. God bless. Pursue your passion.